Message will resonate with listeners in various locations, fostering meaningful interactions and driving brand awareness.
Comprehensive coverage with stations in strategic locations like Reng, Malakal, and Baliet. iRadio offers comprehensive coverage that reaches both urban centers and remote areas. Your partnership with iRadio ensures visibility across a wide geographic area.
Don't miss out on the opportunity to amplify your message with iRadio. Partner or advertise with us today and make your voice heard across South Sudan.
Yingeta kolera 20 loron parik lepeng bu buletato jai dingin nasalan musala kode ingman ko akotokela ama kata longelok butni tete im lo kolera logon awaya be kata songenana logon rorok doko banginot tete im lo kolera logon awaya lo alok but keti uyo kana ngotuling logon konagon ko kinga geleng kode kinga jinjore morja ngoto wate nagon napiga ko kerijeki bubule wojo ngilo tete im lo kolera logon awaya nyenagon tete im lo kolera logon awaya lo tigbe titiki ngoto logon kode nagon Akile kode amoka kolera keti mwajig lupudie logon ako durekin ko kinga geleng titiki nyilo tete im tuduluki keti kata ko tupe simorek tupe to geleng ko tupe to morek tikido anyen togo yuringit inot ite ya na kolera tupe to morek tiki ikide na jomalan morek ko iya pala bokier imu kagna tupe to geleng nyina tupe to geleng ro rogdo to joko yapala bokier keti tupe to morek na ro rogdo ko kingajin musala tete im lo kolera lo waya lo ro rogdo ko kuliati bulue siti kolera keti toto ko digiwere na kolera ko kuliengoto ilanget bendo ko jarani wojo na tete imi dingin nagon ko tete im lo kolera lo waya konani kona konu dijur yeye jiadi maju imu kagnagon do aje woju tete im anabot nagon anyendo to kita jokelan nabot keti tipiri tino be anake tokele toke piong kunong namemete anake dingitan ling dongoni ipiri dongoet bendo ko dongo kango iterere lalane lala kenisi kulo ko piong nake ko sobun ke gapari kingerot nagondo ako nyesukinyo ko imu kegna pondia inor kango ipiri dongoet keti kodo ko delelengo to logondo deden kata ko esi ti kolera meddi kato kelani dede kije kodo ko delelengo to kono di banko de ilanget kata ko esi ko bulu esi ti kolera jongelonge dede kije kadina wini nagon nyona teki kato kelani ko de duma lo langet anyen nyilongo to woju ngaret tokele kodo yenga dendia longyo jore peje wazara na kelan kolonga longi ni mirale kang lokana bokier dangini ngwan lolonge jakita ko wazara na kelan kongaret na WHO UNICEF ko julin
The Dawn on iRadio.
Right, welcome back to the extended hour of the Dawn program here on iRadio, live broadcast from the capital, Juba. My name is Emmanuel Joseph Akile, and it's Tuesday, the 15th of July, 2025. Now coming to 17 minutes after the hour of 8. Now in the second hour of the Dawn, we're going to talk about the safety and protection of journalists in South Sudan. Well, South Sudan continues to face challenges in regard to safety and protection of journalists, a concern shared across the East African region. Now, while there has been a slight improvement in the 2025 World Press Freedom Index, with South Sudan moving to 109th place from 136th last year, media professionals still operate in an environment marked by fear, surveillance, harassment, and censorship. So to shed more light on this, I'm joined live in the studio by Chris Marol, who's the Deputy Chairperson of the Executive Board of Association for Media Development in South Sudan, or AMDIS, and David John Kumuri, the Director of the Public Relations Department at the Internal Security Bureau, National Security Service in the country. It's good to have both of you in the studio this morning. Welcome to iRadio.
Thank you.
Yes. Now, Chris, let me start with you. What would you tell us some of the common forms of threats and, let's say, intimidation faced by journalists in South Sudan today?
Yeah, thanks so much, Emmanuel. Akile. I think generally, because, AMDIS basically collect data of incidences that happen. That could be an incident that related to journalists being harassed or arrested or briefly detained. And also media houses media house is also being shut down, maybe for a brief or for a extended long period. So the most common issues that currently journalists face is harassment, and then intimidation, and also threat, whereby that you can be verbally warned that you are not supposed. If you do this, we are going to come after you. So, and that also led to most of the journalists and some of the media house taking self-censorship, whereby that there are certain things that they would be able to see they are important for the people to know, but because of the fear that if you do this, you will put yourself in trouble. And those are some of the challenges that mostly the journalists face. Thank you.
Right, and you're talking about harassment, but by who exactly? Kumuri is already with us here today.
I think that is very interesting.
Right.
And I think generally we know, like John, the national security, although we already have a legal framework, yes, the Media Authority Act, and also the Access to Information Act that provide the public to be able to have access to information and the right of people to know. So, but sometimes you may find that the security apparatus, not everybody, sometimes they might come in and maybe when they get the journalists, they will be able to say, okay, we don't want you to do this. Or they will come, like maybe one incident, like the recent incident that happened in Jongole, where the station was shut down. The security came to the radio station where it was shut down for that. So those are some of the things. And the people that came, when people look around, who is doing this, they will say security, national security.
And whenever they talk about security, they think it's national security. Even the police and the army can also be security. Let me bring you in, Kumuri. What does the Act say? Does the National Security Act say that any personnel can easily allow any journalist to be intimidated, to be harassed? Or what does the book or the rules say really from the perspective or from the point of the national security mandate, David?
First of all, I want to applaud the AMDIS with the engagement of the institution, the National Security Service and Internal Security Bureau. I'm also honored to be present today here, attending the iRadio talk show at my capacity as the Director of Public Relations Department and the spokesperson of the National Security Service. This is most important, and I want my colleague to know that the safety and the protection of the journalists are crucial for a free and independent press. And the national security agents is ensuring the safety of our journalists in the Republic of South Sudan, while also balancing their duties, protecting the national interest. There are some key points that I want to put forward, that our role as an institution and the National Security Act 2014 has given us a mandate to protect the journalists in the country, whether being from physical harm or online harassments, or physical harassment by maybe the NCOs or officers. So one of our role, is actually to protect the journalists in the Republic of South Sudan. But we cannot deny that there are some isolated cases that might have been caused by some of our NCOs or our officers. Right. So this is what I can say.
Right. Yeah. Yes, that brings us to 22 minutes after the hour of 8. And Chris, let me come back to you. First, let me welcome Rach Malwal to our studio, who's a legal expert. Welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, and I apologize for the delays.
No problem. Now, Chris, what are the current legal, let's say, institutional gaps preventing effective protection of journalists here in South Sudan?
Yeah, I think generally, I'm not a legal expert. Yeah, but I think generally some of the things that the institutional gap may be one of the issues sometimes the journalists may find that it's very hard to corroborate the story. So you might run a story on one side. Right. And it sometimes can be very difficult to bring both sides together. So, and if you do such kind of stories, maybe somebody, the other side which you didn't hear, maybe may come up. And they said maybe this story was not good for them. and those could be a challenge. So, and there is no avenue, for instance, on the legal process. How would you? Because the most thing that happened basically for journalists. So nobody, the person who is confronting you at that moment, will not mind about the law. Whether as journalists they have the mandate to report freely without any restriction, but they will make sure that they have to put you in at that moment. And then the legal mandate, the legal requirement will come later, where the media authority, which is a regulatory body, will be able to come in and then try to find out what the issue is, and then it will be the one who will be able to engage with security for any release of that journalist. But the incident has happened. So our role currently is how do we minimize that to make sure that in such thing doesn't happen, so that the journalist should not be harassed or should not be arrested at the scene. And that is one of the things that we need to find a way how best we can do that. And one of the things is basically how do we build a conducive environment between the security apparatus so that they know the role the journalists play.
Right.
Yeah.
And talking about building the conducive environment, talking about the security and the journalists, David, do you think this is an improvement also in the relations between the journalists and the media, that South Sudan in the 2025 Press Freedom Index has actually improved to 109th place compared to from 136? And how best can we improve this again next year and after, instead of dropping?
You know, there's a very great improvement, especially the cooperation between the journalists and the National Security Service agencies or other organized forces. You know, first of all, I want to bring to your attention, you know, our country went through a lot. We went through revolutions, we went through liberations, and we also went through independence. And when we gain our independence, the independence embodies some core values. Core values like what? First, the aspirations of the people of South Sudan when we gain our independence after the liberation of the country was freedom. Number two was peace, prosperity, and liberty. And I want to tell you that from the beginning, you know, when you came from a guerrilla and you're moving towards a country, especially when we gain our self-determination for the people of South Sudan, even some of the soldiers, when you carry camera, they are not comfortable by then. But now when AMDIS and other institutions start engaging the security organs, like for dinner, always comes for breakfast with the journalists, I want really to appreciate the AMDIS. That developed the relationship between the other organized forces and the journalists. And you can see the level that even we allow journalists to come and access the national security premises and take press statement coverages, and we interact, we take tea together. So this is the environment. There's a very great improvement actually from the organized forces and also the journalists in building the relationship compared from the beginning when we first gained our independence as a country.
Right.
So there's a very great improvement.
Right. And Reg, let me bring you in, and now from looking from a legal perspective, how robust are South Sudan laws in really protecting journalists against unlawful detention and, let's say, censorship especially?
I think that is a general question because laws of South Sudan are not segregative. Every law passed by the parliament is signed by the president. And the same president is the head of all the other organized forces and commander-in-chief. That means a law signed by the president is actually supposed to be accepted by the national security, by the police, by the SSPDF. What is lacking is not laws that protect journalists and any other person in the country. What lacks is the implementation of the laws that have been passed and signed by the president. Number one is that you have a general provision of the law that nobody should be tortured. Yet some people are tortured, right? Those are done, outside the powers of the law that is provided and signed by the president. Also, in the other essence, the law provides only you can arrest any person who is suspected of a crime, but the law provides 24-hour investigation. If that person is to stay behind bars for more than 24 hours, his remand or her remand is supposed to be renewed by a judge or a public prosecution attorney. There is no SSPDF, no security, no any other person that can do that. Even the president himself does not have the powers under the law to detain somebody beyond the legally provided period. But those things continue to happen, not because there is no law, but because there are also individuals who do not want to act within the law. What is missing is that in other countries, for example, if somebody in power, just say a minister, acted outside his powers, that person is supposed to be brought to court and be tried for acting outside his powers. That is what is missing in the country. But the laws are in place. For example, the National Security Service Bill details everything that the security should do. But for example, I would challenge any other lawyer or any other person if they can tell me whether the security can police the media. It's not there. It is not also within the powers of the national security to discipline the media. If you look at the media acts, for example, the access to information details what information a journalist should publish, what information should not be published. For example, information that had to do with the national security. And when we talk about the national security, it's not the institution, it's the safety of the Republic of South Sudan. For example, you cannot publish how many guns we have. That is a crime. You cannot publish the number of our combatants. That will allow the enemy to plan and invade South Sudan. Those are red lines. There are also unclassified and classified information.
Right.
And a journalist needs to know between those. Now, if a journalist acts and publish those information that are supposed to threaten our national security, the security is allowed to do so. The security is allowed to take measures against you.
Right.
But in a normal procedure of you taking your day-to-day duties, really the security will be acting outside their powers. And understanding that, this is where there is an important matter of coming together and trying to understand each other. There is an example in Kenya. Kenyans can demonstrate. The police can even be filmed shooting someone. But cameras are not confiscated, they are not arrested. And you know, this at some point reduces the anger in a citizen. The fact that the police is able to shoot you, the fact that the same government allows the media to take your pictures and put them on a national TV, that shows that you belong to that particular country. And that also reduces the anger of the citizens against their government because they think they are part of the general atmosphere of the country. So what we need to do is that the media people should know the red line where they should not publish a certain information that has to do with the national security.
Right.
And the national security means even journalists can be affected if that information goes out. It doesn't really, it is not only the work of the national security. The same thing, there must be an information volume that the journalists are allowed to cover without being intimidated. Once, if for the cases of defamation, for example,
Right.
a journalist is not supposed to be arrested straight away. It's actually a vice versa, like it's upside down. Issues of journalism are administrative, they are not criminal. That means a journalist is legally allowed by the law to practice journalism. If there is any mistake of ethics of journalism or anything,
Right.
he should be brought before the media authority first. He should not be arrested and then the media authority goes. No. And then if it fails at the media authority, it is the media authority to write officially that they cannot manage this. they will then inform the court that this case should be tried before the court, and that's how you go to the court.
Right. And looking at the gaps, I want to ask Kumuri and Chris Marol this question from your perspective, from the security point of view and also from a journalistic point of view. I mean, there are isolated cases, as we mentioned earlier. We are not perfect as human beings. As journalists are also not perfect. Some of them can have some mistakes, can commit some crimes, noticing that they are crimes maybe after they commit that mistake. And isolated cases by some individuals. We talked about this before, Kumuri, where some individuals have been arrested because they have actually acted outside the law. So how can we break this gap between the two, the security and then also the journalists themselves? Yes, Kumuri.
Thank you, my brother Akile, for these questions. As I mentioned to you before, our role is to protect the journalists. And that's the mandate that the law has given us. There are some isolated cases, I quite agree with you. You cannot differentiate a crime. Once a journalist commits a crime, he's not free. Crime does not differentiate a journalist or constitutional post holder or anybody, because it's a crime against the state. And our role is to make sure that we do protect, prevent and curtail the crime from happening. And once a journalist commits that crime, immediately the law has given us a right to arrest. And you know, some of the things that I need the public and our people to know is that people are after arrest of somebody who have done something, but they don't investigate the crime that they committed. As my colleague has put it, they are classified information, and they are information that can be relayed to the public. And once the journalist encroaches or has moved to the red line where it becomes a national security threat, as a national security officer, I cannot fold my hands back and wait for that crime to continue against the state. We, the security apparatus, we are being established by the law, and we are being guided by the law. So a crime has no boundary. Whether you're a journalist or you're what you committed, my brother expect to be arrested. Yeah.
All right. Yes, Marol. We look at a piece of advice to journalists also, and how best can we actually have that kind of harmony, because sometimes we look at the security personnel that they don't know our work. You know, we just look at them like they should know how we behave. They should know it is our right. Sometimes we don't even know that, like Rach has just mentioned, some informations that are classified. But some journalists think that by the virtue of becoming a journalist, you're allowed to obtain any kind of information that you want. Right?
Yeah, all right. Thank you so much, Akile. And I think generally, as journalists, I think for us, we have to act professionally. And being a professional, you need to make sure that you do a story in a way that is fair and that is accurate. And then you also need to be able to know what kind of, there are certain things, maybe people talk about classified information, like Molana talk about it. But there are certain issues sometimes the journalists may want to do, and that are also public interest. So how do you deal with that? And that's where, by that, maybe the security will be able to clutch with the journalist. So whereby that maybe a journalist is pursuing a story related to a corruption, maybe in the security sector, or maybe related to a human right abuse, or maybe something that happened, or torturing that happened. Maybe one of the journalists may want to pursue that. So that kind of information, that kind of story is not it's not classified. But the reason why you are doing that, you need to bring accountability. Yeah, you need to make sure that as a human being, as per the Constitution of the South Sudan in the Bill of Rights, so you are not supposed to be tortured. You need to make sure that if you are arrested, you are not proven guilty until proven by a competent court of law. So you are assumed innocent, even if maybe you are found in the act doing something wrong. But it doesn't mean that it condemns you at that moment. You need to make sure that there should be a legal minded that will be able to determine that this person has committed a crime, and that person also will be convicted of that. So those are some of the things that you find ourselves in. So generally, the other thing, maybe one of the things I can say, maybe for journalists, one of the things we need to make sure that also need to have to build a relationship with security. Let them know what you do. Yeah, because if they don't know what you do, and they should not be able to see you as an enemy. So you are doing your job, the security are doing their job. So both of you need to make sure that you operate in that environment, because all of you, the security have the law that give them the mandate. The journalists have the Article 24 in the Bill of Rights that give them the right to for journalists to collect information and publish them, and for the people to know, to be able that, and the access to information that give people the right to information. So those are some of the things. So we really need to make sure that we have to act professionally. We also need to act ethically, and also need, if you want to bring in maybe issues to do with accountability, the security should not be able to see that as a national security threat, because we want to make sure that the government should be a government that is responsible and is able to listen to the people, and is able also to make sure that it doesn't do something that goes contrary again to what they are mandate they're supposed to do.
Right. Talking about you need to act professionally. The same thing also applies to Kumuri. You need to act professionally also. Now let me ask you, Kumuri, how does the NSS really balance the state security concerns with the constitutional right to freedom of expression and privacy, let's say, for journalists?
Akile, this is very important for us to note that we don't deny that there are abuses by other security personnel or the NGOs, but it's not the policies of the institutions. That's why when President established non-separate tribunal in the National Security Service, is to handle cases of indiscipline and abuses, especially our personnel and other security officers that might have encroached or abused their powers. If you look at the national security today, we are working hard to make sure that we give a training to our officers and make awareness on the conventional laws and what does the National Security Act says about the journalists and the freedom of expressions, so that our personnel and officers cannot abuse their powers. And it's a process, reform is a process. So we are not denying that there are cases that might have been abused by our officers or other security apparatus. But if you look at the gap when we gain our independence, up to now, it is a very great improvement. And we are sticking to our mandate of protecting the national interests of the country. There are some things that sometimes the journalists don't see when we say we do prevent and detect a crime from happening. For example, Akile, we know that you are about to commit a crime. But our work is to make sure that we get the intelligent information and make sure we prevent you from committing that crime. And when the act of arrest come in, the journalists might not understand the level of the threat that we are talking about, based on the training of the officers of the operatives of the National Security Service. So this is a difference here. But I also want to repeat it that we are still cooperating with the journalists, and we are trying to improve the gap, the weaknesses that are happening between the journalists and the security apparatus.
Right. And Reg, let me bring you in. You earlier talked about some of the legal framework governing media and press freedom in South Sudan. But then are these existing laws really adequately being enforced according to your assessment?
Well, to my assessment, they are not adequately being enforced. And one issue, as I said before, is even for these institutions to understand their own mandate. For example, it will be very understandable if the national security prevents a terrorist attack. It will be very understandable if the national security prevents maybe a mutiny. That is really very understandable. But to just act on one journalist, lock him in without due process of the administration, that is also acting outside the the National Security Service Act. Because it's very clear, all the institutions, the law has actually defined clearly what you should do at a given time. The media authority as well is handicapped to some level. For example, you would see that some articles sometimes being removed are about corruption, when clearly the Constitution of South Sudan has defined how corruption should be fought by all the citizens, not only by the Anti-Corruption Commission. It's put clearly that every citizen should report corruption. Every citizen should fight corruption as a duty of a citizen. Now, if one journalist is investigating a corruption in a certain ministry, and you want to publish that as a way for South Sudan to move forward, you will find yourself being arrested. Now, this is when the national security will have to really look at their personnel that are loyal to personalities and not the Republic of South Sudan. And it is not only in the national security, even in our army, you can find some subjects are very much loyal to some individuals and not loyal to the country. And that's the problem that the Republic of South Sudan faces. If I am powerful, I can just tell one guy that I know in the national security to arrest one of my guys who want to snatch my girlfriend. Lock him in, create a story, and he never comes out, because releasing that person will have the approval of the Director General, which is a very big thing to do. Now, what do we need to improve that? There is nothing wrong for someone being arrested. And as per the law, whosoever is arrested is not necessarily a criminal. We call that person a suspect. Now it comes in. Do we have a due process where you can allow that person arrested to
A journalist, let's focus on the journalist.
Okay, a journalist. Journalist is just like any other person. Let's say, per what he said is that if you are suspected to be, wanting to commit a major national security matter, for example, if you are taken to court, to be sincere with you, even lawyers will not complain. Because all of us, we want somebody to be held accountable. If a journalist wants to destroy South Sudan, we want accountability. But how the accountability is done, this is when we differ. If you are produced before the court, a competent court of law finds you guilty, declares you guilty, sentences you to a certain amount of time in prison, or even hang you to death, because issues of national security, sometimes you can actually be sentenced to death. And that is through a competent court. Nobody will complain, because this is what our law provides. But we find it very difficult to agree to humiliation continuously without somebody being produced before a competent court.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Briefly, I want you to say something on that, because you mentioned a number of important issues, Kumuri, before we can pick calls from the listeners. Yes.
First of all, I want to respond to what Molona has said. Molona mentioned classified information and confidentiality and non-disclosure information maybe to the public. And that's what he mentioned it clearly. Terrorism, espionage, conspiracy, propaganda against the regime, this is the role of the National Security Service. And we also define the crime that are against the state very clear. I don't work with the media that wanted to disclose to you. For example, some sensitive information. You don't expect the national security officers to disclose information that may cause harm even to the public, or that may cause incitement. And then we just go to the air and share it. I want to tell Molona that we are acting within the law. It's good that our laws are not secret. The National Security Act 2014, as amended 2024, has given us the powers. And I'm also happy that the National Security Service don't write laws. The laws are written.
Just implement.
The Minister of Justice, and then they are passed by Parliament. So we are implementing those laws as sons and daughters of this land. Molona, I want you to note that the institution is acting within the law, but we are not denying that there are some individuals that are abusing their powers, especially the issues of arrest. You cannot arrest anybody without bringing to the consent of the Director General. Without approval of the Director General, you cannot go and arrest. And if you do that, then, as I mentioned to you before, that we have non-summary tribunal, immediately will take an action. It's only that some of the public or the people who are in the public, they don't inform us about this in the public relation. We tell them, if an officer or NCOs commit a crime or intimidate any journalist, please call the public, and then we'll be able to summon that officer or NCOs and investigate and maybe sue him even to court to National Security Service non-summary tribunal.
Right. Let me give you the 11 دقيقة لرأس. We pick few calls. Be precise, be brief. Your name, where you're calling from, and straight to your question. Dial 0911 or 22986 iRadio.
Good morning, Emmanuel.
Good morning.
Yeah, this is Diang Ding in Wow.
Diang Ding in Wow. Welcome. Oh, Diang Ding, sorry, your line is breaking there. You can still revert back to us. 11022-986-986 وده بيجيبك في استديو حات اي راديو واحنا في موضوع بتاع الليله بنتكلم عن سيفتي وبروتكشن بتاع الجورناليست. اي راديو. نعم، منو معنا؟ يونس، اتفضل. اخذناك في الخط. اي راديو.
الو.
يس.
صباح الخير يا ايمانويل.
صباح النور.
انا سلمت في الفلسطينيه داير راديو معزوم على كله يلا ما ديو كده قال كده.
منو معنا؟
معك جيمس.
جيمس، سؤالك طوالي من جوبا.
اي اتانو كلام يا جماعه ده مو كلام كويس وحقيقه حاجه كلنا قاموا الدوله ده اصلا بقدر ابا بلد بتاعنا، لكن كان في زول الدار على بره من القانون، ما في زول ثاني اعلى من القانون. عشان كده انا كمان بالناس يدومون مو لازم تجيب مون لازم بيجربوا على القوات ده بيكون مبادرة كويس. لأنه علاقة بين الأمين والناشونال سكيورتي هو بيكون كويس، لأنه كان أي حاجة نقامل كل اللي بيجيبوا كويس لبلد أنا كده ما عنده أي مشكلة، لكن أي زول اللي كان دار عمل بطل لبلد ده ممكن ذاته هو بيكون أجنس لحياة الإنسان. من كده أنا بالناس كده نعمل ريفورم، إن كلنا كمواطنين ولا كان ناشونال سكيورتي ولا كان الأمين لازم أن بعمل ريفورم عشان بقدر بنا بلد أنا ده جانا كبنا بلاد تاني. وأنا درينا لو ناشونال سكيورتي كل من تعال برا من السياسيين، لأنه حقيقة السياسيين قاعدين يلعبوا البلد بتاعنا ده. المواطنين ما عنده أي مشكلة، ولا الأمين عنده مشكلة ولا ناشونال سكيورتي عنده مشكلة، لكن السياسيين بتاعنا عنده حاجاتهم تكفيها يلعبوا برا البلد ده. عشان كده أنا درين ذاتهم يبقى أنا للسياسيين دل. سؤال تعالى ذاته برا من القانون لازم كله يبدو ويعمل له حاجة محاسبة، لأنه ما في محاسبة في بلد يا بلد كل جرا كانوا ما في.
Alright, شكرا لك. رسالتك وصل جيمس. اي راديو. Speak one more call 0911-22986-986 وده بيجيبك في استديوهات اي راديو في صباح اليوم. اي راديو. Hello, اي راديو.
Yes, Emmanuel.
Yes.
Yeah, this is Diang Ding again.
Diang Ding, go ahead now. From Wow.
Yeah, my question is that to Director David Kamero is that what is it that like the Molana put it clearly? There are some NCOs and officers in National Security Services and also individuals within the government, politicians, who act out of the acts of National Security Service. You get the person being arrested and you will not get where you are arrested. You can just remain in custody until you will be released or been taken to court of the law. This is happening. What do you actually do? Because if we citizens try to report, to see that the person is held accountable, who have arrest person beyond out of the law, you will not get the justice. This is happening in the country, and today we need you to address it to us on how we can deal with such a situation, because there are some citizens who are eager to make sure that this country deal on the law. We don't want the country who is out of the law. And those abiding the law, violating the law are the politicians themselves and powerful individuals in the government. That's one. Another thing is that what do national security do to actually, for example, that even the issue of girlfriends, people have been arrested. Okay? These are the things that we need to address, because sometimes this is abuse of the power itself. We are using the power of the government to threaten the citizens. And everybody wants to be looked equally in the right of the court of the law. Thank you.
Thank you. Radio. All right, let's come directly to our guests in the studio. We have about 7 minutes to wind up. Kumuri, let me bring you in. You respond to the questions that are directed to you, and then maybe there's another message in our Facebook from a court back. We have a number of them. Let me pick this one, and he's saying, "I'm watching live from Kampala, and I'm really excited to see our guests in the studio this morning discussing the challenges facing journalists today." And he's saying, "I have a question directly for the guests. What message do you have for those who disrespect or threaten journalists, especially those working hard in the studio and in the field?" And then he's saying, "What advice can you give to students who are dreaming of becoming journalists, but then they feel discouraged by these challenges? How can they really stay motivated and manage to pursue this career in such an environment?" This I would like Marol related to respond to that. Kumrin, it's now your turn. Yes.
Yes, that's a very important question, and it's very fundamental about the officers who abuse their powers. As I mentioned earlier, is that the president established non-summary tribunal. That gentleman might not have been following the news on SSBC, or the coverage was not done properly. But we have almost 11 or 12 cases that officers and NCOs have been sued to non-summary tribunal with the coverage of all the journalism in Kololo. We have a court there, non-summary tribunal. And most of them have been dismissed, they have been suspended, they have been taken to court. So we want to build an institution that can be admired by the people of South Sudan, by youth, that we need their dream, that if I grow up, I need to work in the National Security Service, because we, the officers and the NCOs of National Security Service, one day will be integrated into the community. So we cannot go against our own people and then abuse them. These are our mothers, these are our brothers. So if any officers, and I want to send this as a warning to some of the officers or NCOs that abuse their powers, we have a non-summary tribunal. Immediately we will not compromise. You will be taken there. Because our work is to protect the interests of the Republic of South Sudan and the people of South Sudan. And that's why I mentioned to you before that the aspiration of the people of South Sudan, when again our independence, was freedom. We need our people to be free. Peace, prosperity, that is the dream. And then the other question is about the girlfriend. This is not our mandate. There is no officers of National Security Service or NCO that can go on the issues of a girlfriend and then you go and arrest somebody. No. As I mentioned to you, anybody that do that, please you call the public relations, because the law is very clear. If somebody commit a crime, you first report to the Director General, and then the Director General will issue a directive of that person will be arrested. Even the crime will be assessed, the level of the crime. We cannot involve, these are police cases. These are cases that intermarried. These are cases that can be taken to local court. So it's not our mandate. Our mandate is bigger than that.
Right. Right, Chris.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I just want maybe on that colleague from Kampala about the journalist. He has a fashion that I want to do this, but sometime maybe based on this. I think journalism is a good field. And I think basically you need to make sure that if you are doing that and you have a fashion of doing it, you need to do it in a way that represent what you want to achieve. At the end of the day, the goal is to inform the public, and you need to inform the public in a good way, not in a bad way. So you need to make sure that you do your stories, and you need to be accurate on whatever the content that you are putting out there, and you need to make sure that to be ethical also. So being ethical is like, you need to be able to know how are you doing this. So that's one of the things. I know maybe if you are looking for money, maybe that could be another thing, but it's a good pill. So, and one of the things I can take an example, like some years back in one of the training, and we're doing a story, so we do some assignment. And one of the things that you need to do as a journalist, what motivates you in your field? What is that motivate you? What motivates you is the people that you represent, the people that you are giving the information. They will be able to see this story.
Right.
And they will be able to feel that how good you have done it, and they will appreciate that. And that should be the one that motivates you. So you really should not be scared about the threat that happened, but you really need to make sure that you have the fashion, and you need to do it in a way that is professional and ethical.
Right.
And you need to be accurate.
Right. Right. I give you each 1 minute each for your last remarks, but then also, Reg, let me start with you. And what reforms would you recommend to strengthen legal protections for journalists and media freedom in South Sudan? Recommendation.
Yeah, my recommendation is that we commend the National Security Service for their collaboration. We also call upon the National Security Service to be able to allow access to the non-summary tribunal of the national security. That court should have their gates open for all the citizens. When there is any case of an abuse, citizens should be able to access that court. And also national security should be able to establish a protection for those citizens that are actually coming to lodge a complaint in that court. Because one of the fears citizens have is that these people can do anything. They can torture you outside so that you don't go and complain. So there also should be a system that protects citizens that are coming to complain in that court. We also commend the court martial in Bilpam. They are doing great. And this is the South Sudan we all wanted. Nobody should act against any other right just because they are an army or because they are security or because they are police. Nobody's a police, nobody's a security. It's the same citizen that joins these institutions. And therefore, being a citizen is actually the number one right. Being a citizen of a country is number one right that gives you the right to enjoy other rights. Right. You cannot work in the national security unless if you are a South Sudanese. So being a South Sudanese is primary to all the other things that we enjoy thereafter. To journalists, we stay ethical. And anything that happens to you, report first to the media authority. Any other thing can come after.
Right. Thank you for that. Yes, David.
To journalists, I want to recommend that let us be careful when publishing information, and also let's avoid being recruited by hostile intelligence organization so that we will work against our country. I'm happy that these cases are not happening. If it happens, then they are not their intention actually to give that sensitive information to hostile intelligence organizations. I also want to recommend that let us continue with this dinner, the breakfast, and then let's continue to make awareness to our people.
And even this, continue with the talk show like this also, yes, to engage with the public directly.
Yes, I'm happy that the Director General of Internal Security Bureau, the Minister of National Security Service, has given us the mandate. Today they have given us the approval to come and talk to the public. This is very important. We are not living in the air. We are part and parcel of the communities. And if you look at the sons and daughters of South Sudanese who are working in the uniform, they are here actually to protect the country. All of us will be out of this country, but the flag of the Republic of South Sudan, the soil will remain forever for the next generation. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. And finally, Chris.
Yes. I think generally I just want to thank General David for this coming together. And one of the things maybe I want him to take along with is journalists who are not enemy to any. So all of us have a mandate to make sure that we are able to get people informed. And the security, also they have the mandate to uphold the constitutions and to uphold the law and make sure that the journalists are protected. From the beginning, he said the journalists, it's a mandate of the security to protect them. But they should not be able to intimidate them. They should not be able to arrest them. They need to make sure that when you protect somebody, it doesn't mean you lock him up. But you need to make sure that that person is able to move freely. And all of us, we are not enemy. We are doing the same. So for you are gathering intelligence to make sure to prevent crime. Ours, we want to inform the public so that we can be able to change an environment and build a conducive South Sudan where peace is prevailed. That's what I can say. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Chris Marol, Deputy Chairperson of the Executive Board of AMDIS, David John Kumuri, the Director of the Public Relations Department at the Internal Security Bureau, and Molana Rech Malwal, Legal Expert. Thank you all for joining us on The Dawn today. We have come to the end of the extended hour of The Dawn. Join us again tomorrow morning at the same time to get the latest on what's happening in South Sudan and beyond the borders. Up next, Soundtrack Show with Dika D. Andrew. On behalf of The Dawn team, I'm Emmanuel Joseph Akile. We meet again tomorrow.